G'day. It's Scotty from Zenium Real Wealth, and we are away. This is our 2019 November. It's a bit of a special edition, actually. It's we normally have our opportunities at this time of the month where we talk about the market cycle actions that we discussed last week. But this week I thought I'd do something a little bit different, spice it up, keep you all on your toes. And we are talking about opportunities in the property market, but one specific region, and that region is the Sunshine Coast. And the reason we're talking about that is because about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Terry Ryder released a special report on the Sunshine Coast market, in just the Sunshine Coast market, and why he thought it was a really, really good area to invest in. So we have read that report. You're welcome to contact us to get it. It was free from Ryder. You can jump on his website, see if you can find it still. If you can't, we'll send it to you. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on his report today and some of the key points that we have discussed internally in our office, and I'm going to tell you about now. So today is all about our Sunshine Coast report from Terry Ryder at hotspotting.com.au. Before we kick off, I'd like a big welcome to all those people that are watching later on, watching live now, and of course on our podcast, Real Property, Real Wealth, which is available on all the great and accessible podcast platforms. Okay, now Jason in our office is going to join us shortly. Jason's on, so I'm going to add him in here. Hey Jason, how you doing?
Good, Scotty. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. All right, so we've got this Sunshine Coast report from Ryder. Let's see if I can bring this up on my screen here. Where are we? Okay, so he's called it Australia's most compelling growth story. Okay, I'll make this slightly bigger because we're using half a screen for you guys. Okay, so I'm not going to read the report word for word, but I have got some key points as we've gone through. This is what the report looks like. If you are trying to look for it online, it's got a picture of the new Sunshine Coast Sun Central on the front, and I'll show you a video on that a bit later as well. It's quite an in-depth report, so about 30 pages long. There's a bit of repeating in there, but Terry Ryder does some good stuff, and I like what he does, and he's worth a look. I'm going to go through some of our key points here. I'm not going to bother reading it to you guys, but I'll just highlight what I have taken note of. All right. Sunshine Coast, $17.7 billion economy. We've had a 4% growth rate in the past 15 years. So that's been one of the largest growth rates in Australia. It's a top 10 employment generation regions. That means it's one of the regions that generates the most employment in the country, with over 20,000 jobs created in the past 5 years. It's got an international broadband network connection coming from next year, and that will make it the fastest broadband connection with Asia directly, faster than Sydney and Melbourne, I guess because it's closer. Maybe they're measuring in milliseconds, I don't know, but I guess that's a good thing. The university started, even after I finished school up here on the sunny coast, and it started with 524 students, and it now has over 17,000. So that's been a pretty good growth story. And in fact, it has over 1,000 staff as well. So that's pretty impressive. We've had the $1.8 billion university training hospital open, but it's actually only part of a $5 billion health precinct. The largest shopping centre on the Sunshine Coast, which is called Sunshine Plaza. Pretty original name, I know. Really good with names up on the sunny coast. Had a $440 million expansion, and it's actually pretty special. There's 114 new shops, and now there's 345 shops in total for those of you that love shopping. The one thing that they need to upgrade, though, is their cinemas. I'm just going to put that out there to Lend-Lease. There's a $350 million airport upgrade, and that's underway now. The new runway is being constructed, and it will add international destinations. So they already fly to Sydney and Melbourne, and in winter, I think it is, they fly to New Zealand. but looks like there's going to be Asia destinations coming with the airport upgrade, meaning bigger planes and more tourism, that sort of stuff. It's the only Australian city to be named in the top 7 intelligent communities globally. So that is about business and economic smarts, and that's a pretty big win. And it has, last year it had 3.85 million visitors, and they spent about $2.5 billion. All right, so that's the overview of the Sunshine Coast, okay? So there's quite a bit of information there on that. Now, to give you some background, I have been travelling to the Sunshine Coast since I was wee little tacker, and my grandparents lived up here. My grandfather was actually in real estate up here, which is kind of, I guess, I don't know, it's in the blood, isn't it? And he used to tell me stories that even back in those long time ago would make me cry, but the prices he'd paid for waterfront blocks of land and built their house, we all hear those stories, right? Don't talk to old people about property prices because you just get depressed. But anyway, so there's been some pretty amazing movements up there on the sunny coast. And since about 96-ish, I've been living up there full time. So I'm old enough and been living there long enough to be called a local, very aware of what's going on. For the first possibly 8 years of our business, so from 2004 to say 7 years, 2011, I really didn't put anyone into the Sunshine Coast. I didn't see the fundamentals on infrastructure and other bits and pieces. In fact, we actively put people elsewhere in southeast Queensland, so into especially Brisbane, some of the stronger regional centres at the time, that sort of thing. But the Sunshine Coast was always a retirement destination and a tourist destination. And coming into GFC, it got hit just like anything else. But coming out of GFC, there's a lot of money being spent and allocated. And that's the sort of stuff we're going to talk about now. And that's where we changed our tune. And we actually started putting people for investment purposes, giving them the Sunshine Coast as an option. And quite a few took them. So a lot of people still took Brisbane. That's okay. We always give our clients options. But really what happened was that it ended up being on the table. And the Sunshine Coast has traditionally been, kind of a bit like Townsville, bit boom, bit bust, with the property cycles. And this time it didn't do that. It sort of went up prior to GFC, a bit affected with GFC, but then it sort of started to power on again very strongly. It didn't sort of return to very low lows like it used to. And there was a lot of changes in the rental market and building and construction, things like that. So that's the sort of things that we started to look for. We went, okay, this is pretty interesting. What's going on here? So we move on to the property aspect of the Sunshine Coast. And I've only got two other things we'll talk about here, the property and the future aspects, and then we'll zip through the rest of the report and I'll show you some videos. So according to Ryder, the Sunshine Coast had the strongest Queensland property market over the last 2 years. It's the leading regional market in Queensland. It's the number 1 in Queensland for house price growth, which is pretty impressive. That's 3 stats that are very, very impressive. It's got a population expected to reach 580,000 by 2041. So we have about 360 or something now. I'll find that in the report shortly. And it will be facing a property shortage with 9,000 new people arriving on the Sunshine Coast every year. So 9,000 is a fairly decent number. The future prospects for the Sunshine Coast, we've touched on a few. But there's a new Maroochydore town centre, and I'll talk about that shortly because there's a video to watch. There's the airport upgrade. There's an $80 million university upgrade, which they needed because they've gone from 500 students to 17,000. There's a $1 billion Bruce Highway upgrade between Caloundra and Buderim. There's the $1 billion upgrade at Gympie to Curra, which is right up the north. And there's also an upgrade from Caboolture to Caloundra, which they're looking to go to 3 lanes instead of 2, which I haven't chucked on here. And it will also have, as I said, the fastest broadband connection to Asia. So that's some pretty impressive sort of stuff. The broadband network alone is looking to deliver 800 jobs and bring in 900 million to the economy. We'll flick through here and I'll read out some key points before we get to the videos. So we've got, as I said, 350,000 in population. It's going to overtake New South Wales Central Coast to become Australia's 9th largest urban area of over 500,000 in 20 years. So for those of you who live on the Sunshine Coast, I guess if you've got a business, that could be good. If you're driving around and trying to get your kids to school, maybe that's really crap. I don't know. But it's definitely going to get busy. So it's looking to outperform all these other regions here, Canberra, Hobart, Darwin, etc., etc. So as I touched on, the $1.8 billion Sunshine Coast Hospital, the new hospital is only part of a $5 billion health precinct in general. So it's a fairly large chunk of it, but it's not everything. There's a whole bunch of other services and specialised specialists coming into that area and outpatient care and things like that. So that's a pretty big thing. That's a lot of money spent in a single location. There's a Mutchidor Town Centre upgrade. Noosa Heads has been a really top performing suburb for apartments, and it's also done really well in the housing market too, which is unusual for Noosa because it's really cyclical, but this time it has been very strong. And the fact is, people look for the new Noosa, they go further north, but Noosa's not getting any further from Brisbane. If anything, it's getting closer with roads and population growth, etc. So you're never going to find a new one of them. You just got to look at the stuff that you got to work with. As we said here, 4% year-on-year growth, 15 years, etc., etc. This report is a really, really good read. It talks about housing markets, Sunshine Beach, 37%, Twin Waters, 21%, Doonan, 19%, Woolbar, 14%, Woombai, 17%. And then it goes on to the apartment markets, and that's growth in those markets. That's been very, very, very good. And that's it. I'll skip through that. I've talked about the rest. We go on here, just the demographics. It's 100 k's north of Brisbane. If you didn't know where it was, it's 55 kilometres long. So it's not small. It's a decent size area. It's got 2 main councils, Sunshine Coast Council and Noosa Council. There's a lot of employment in the healthcare sector, construction, retail, and the population is currently just under 350 with that growth to 580, which is just a massive growth, okay? So that's really, really good. There's a note here on the university. It has won 5-star rating for teaching quality from the Good Universities Guide for 10 years in a row. So winning anything for 10 years in a row means one of two things. Either you're the only person participating in the award, or you're really, really good at that and you actually deserve the award. And I would say that it's the latter. Anyone I've talked to actually really enjoys going to that uni, and they sell themselves very much on the lifestyle. You can go and study and then go for a surf or go for a bike ride or whatever. And if you've got to study and you've got to do that for 3-4 years, well, why not do it in somewhere nice? You might as well go to the Sunshine Coast. So that's about it there. We'll skip off that. What we'll do is we'll jump on here and we'll go to where have I got it? Excuse me. We'll talk about the Bruce Highway upgrade. Okay, so this Bruce Highway upgrade is, for those of you locals will understand this, it's 6 lanes between Caloundra and the Budrum exits. That might not sound like a big deal, but that Caloundra exit is really, really key, critical in the growth of South Caloundra and Aura, with the 20 to 40,000 people that are moving down that way. And it also catches a lot of people from that Malula, even Beerwah section coming in. And it's actually a really busy section of road. So it was $1 billion upgrade between there. It's not even that far. It's probably, 5 k's between Caloundra exit to the Budrum exit. And there is a video on that. We'll have a look at that now. See, there won't be any sound. So this is the exits here. We've got the Caloundra interchange, the Sunshine Motorway, Budrum interchange. And this is their little CGI interface thing they've done. So currently, this is what it's going to look like when it is done. So we've got 3 lanes heading each way, north and south, with all the runoffs and the roads. I'm just going to pause this here. This is the first one in Australia that I believe is what they call a reverse diamond interchange. So this traffic here, where my mouse is going on the bottom, we'll get rid of this, is coming off the highway and going east into Caloundra, heading towards the coast, and they actually then end up on this double or triple lane bridge that is on the right-hand side of the road. So not the left-hand side of the road where people normally drive in Australia. So you become American for 300 metres and you drive on the right-hand side of the road there. That's important for their traffic flows. They needed to do that. There was no other way that they could do that around. The traffic here on the top is coming from the west, so going west, coming from Caloundra and out to those leafy suburbs out that way. This is going along Caloundra Road eastbound, and we're coming to our double diamond thing here up at this set of lights. So this is like we've come from Malula or something. The ones on the left here coming from Caloundra, the ones on the right are from the highway. We scoot over on the right-hand side and we scoot through this other set of lights, end up back on the left-hand side of the road and back up on Caloundra Road. As we head further north, for those of you that have been up this way, you'll know that the old Edamogga pub, that sort of thing, is now called Banana Bender Pub. We could do another whole podcast and episode on the fact that they call it the Banana Bender Pub and the outrage of the Sunshine Coast locals with that. But I'm just going to pause this video here. You can see we've got 3 lanes dedicated southbound on the highway, 3 lanes northbound. There's 2 lanes coming off to the Caloundra, 2 lanes coming on from Malula, and then there's this major access side road, this Frizzo Road, which goes between the old Edamogga pub, the Banana Bender pub, and this access road. The reason I'm spending a bit of time on this is because this is doesn't matter where you are in Australia, this is a very, very substantial road upgrade and actually long overdue. They've done things like carpooling facilities, which is really smart. They've got this big interchange here under the highway for the pub area. And in general, it's a very, very, very impressive upgrade. The big section we want to jump up to will be up here, where we go northbound, and we want to get off the highway at the Budrum exit. Now, for those of you that have ever come off the highway at the Budrum exit, this is the high aerial shot. I'll pause it here. You would know it's an absolute suicide run. You would be coming off the highway and wanting to go under the Bruce Highway Bridge again, heading east into Maroochydore, and coming from the east, so heading west, and people wanting to go north, they'd have to cut across the highway exit. So you've got cars exiting the highway at 100k an hour, and just a give way sign for a whole bunch of traffic wanting to head north to Nambour, Gympie, etc., Cairns, whatever you want to do, heading north, and you got to run across the gauntlet there. It was the amount of accidents there was just crazy. And so what would happen was that all these nice motorists would take the exit to Budrum, come off the Bruce Highway, and they'd start slowing down because it's safe. That's what you do. And then some would even stop because there'd be a big queue of cars wanting to get across. So they'd stop and people would start shooting out across, wanting to head north. And of course, then you've got cars stopped on the main Bruce Highway, which is never great. And that caused a whole bunch of accidents. So really, really, this is long overdue. And this whole area, this whole Sippy Downs to Caloundra and Caloundra South are massive, massive growth areas. You're talking 50,000 plus people and houses that are going in those areas. So it absolutely needs an upgrade. And as you can see here, driving our cool little drone thing, whatever we're in, there's no delays now. There's no waiting for cars to come out, no running the gauntlet. You come off at 100k an hour on the Bruce, you continue under the Bruce Highway Bridge, and you go straight on the Sunshine Motorway at 100k an hour. So that is a very, very, very good result for those people in that area, and totally much safer. The accidents, there was not just car accidents, there was people's lives, like pedestrians killed as well. So, all right, so that's enough of that one there. We'll go on to the Sun Central development. Now, the Sun Central development, what they did was there was a golf course right in the middle of Maroochydore. It was an old golf course. It was there, it was well kept, and the town grew around it. And what really came about was that a deal was made to move the golf course and therefore start again for a new town centre. Now, that's pretty cool. You don't often get to do that. So that was a pretty cool thing. And what's very cool is that they've actually thought about this in a lot of regards, and there's some very good opportunity to have a new town centre and a whole bunch of technology and smarts in it. And that is the Maroochydore area there. So they've highlighted the town centre here. So all that area was essentially, just about all of it was golf course. Where all this is here, where the buildings are, that was all golf course, and they're bringing in the water and stuff like that. Here we go. Subsea cable landing station. Woohoo, there we go. So Noosa's to the north. The airport is there also to the north. Twin Waters Resort, worth a visit. The Sunshine Plaza in the expansion. And they're talking about a passenger rail. Well, we'll see if rail ever gets there. That's light rail. That's a story for another day. All right. So it is under construction now. There's roads in place. But this is their, once again, CGI stuff of what it's going to look like. If that makes it look like this, it's actually really, really nice. You're talking about water in right next to sort of residential and commercial buildings, really nice walking areas, covered paths. If they get even 50% of this, it's going to be stunning. If they get closer to 100%, it's going to be amazing. And really is an opportunity to have a brand new town centre, which you don't often get. It's not like you can expand cities, but you can't delete in the middle, right? Not whole areas. You can delete certain buildings and demolish them, but you just can't do that. You can't knock down 50 blocks and start again. So it really is quite an impressive thing. And you can see now why that a lot of people are talking about the Sunshine Coast, because of this sort of stuff that's going on. They're also the first city to have no garbage bins, believe it or not. So their garbage bin service, they've got a whole vacuum system under everything, and you put them in chutes and your garbage disappears, right? So that's pretty impressive. What do you think about that, Jason?
I was just thinking how many cities around the world would love the opportunity to start again and get it right.
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, this is exactly correct. You're getting it right. To have that blank canvas is just something that I don't, unless you're talking about something like NEOM in the desert that Saudis are doing, and there's nothing there to begin with. To start again in an area that is already established, I haven't heard of. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but it's not common.
No, definitely, and a fantastic location, better than the original. So perfect.
Absolutely. So that's probably all I've got on the Maroochydore, Sunshine Coast, Caloundra, Noosa sort of update. But what I did want to show you guys was that we always talk about something to do with property, and the reason we do what we do is we try and chase where these good opportunities are for property. So I'm going to quickly go through now a duplex that I myself am doing, myself and my wife, and it is on the Sunshine Coast. And we want to show you, this is the first time we're showing everyone this, and we're going to follow it as we go forward. And I'm going to show you two different physios on how we got to do what we're doing and the difference between the two. The first thing I'm going to go through here is a video walk around. Let's have a look here. We'll just pull up the lot to begin with. So put this back in. Okay, so we'll try and make it a bit bigger. It doesn't make any difference. All right, so we're here at lot 25. So these are all established areas here, obviously, because there's housing on, and the greens is this new stage, and lot 25 is our lot there, 805 square metres, all right, which is this lot here. So let's have a look around. I'll do the commentary so you can't really, don't bother hearing my wind-blown voice. That's the lot next door, so we're looking east there, and there's already those established houses. We pan around, we pretty much come close to facing north about now, and that's this block here that we're on. Where that green bunting ends is roughly where the block ends. There's my fingers got real big. There you go, it's got a pointer on it. It comes along, and that will be obviously a boundary fence. The back boundary's here, and we're pretty much facing south as we turn this way now. right? So all the aspect of this property is out here. There's the range. It's some fantastic sunsets and other bits and pieces there. And then you got the northern aspect for all your good, which is what you want, especially in Queensland. You want that good northern aspect to get the good light through in winter and the no light through in summer. Okay, so we'll cut to the chase here on that. I'll go here. So that is where I was standing, pretty much on that, where the driveway will be. Where the cars were is that easement for the driveway access. So you can see here there's north, so that was facing out that way, and that range was over here at the top. We'll scroll down to this one. So we've got both al fresco areas out there facing north, which is exactly what you want in this type of climate. So we can sit out there in these finished duplexes, and everything is in the right aspect. And that was really important to us when we did the duplex. There'll be a boundary fence coming through there, and there's your two separates. That's your aspect from the west, I guess. Here's from the east. So come up from the driveway. Now it's two single garages, so each unit only has a single garage. I have a preference for double garage, but due to the layout of the driveway and the position on the site, we couldn't get that. But we do have two allocated car parks on the roadside down below the site, because the site's slightly elevated, and we'll have stairs coming up from that. So you will have two car parks per site. And yeah, that's about it. So I wanted to show you guys that and just give you an update. So we're at the land contract stage. It's not registered yet. And I'll keep you updated as it goes through. Every time we do something on site works, concrete, frames, all that sort of stuff, we'll film it all, fill you in, and of course we'll go through the figures at the end. Speaking of figures, let's go through here. There's two different ways that we fund things when we do projects. One is a traditional lending sort of way, which is like your banks and that sort of thing, and other is private, and in that private, you can do it almost traditionally, or you could do it on gross realisation of value. So I wanted to show you the two different ways of achieving a similar but yet different result on this project. So I've got the purchase price of the land in here with the stamps. We've got some legal fees, etc., etc. So we'll flick over to the bank lending, because it's what most people are going to be familiar with. So this is based on a 20% down. And Jason, you can jump in anytime if I miss anything. So we've got the build of the duplex here. We just got some 5,000 for in case there's some things you want to change or do whatever. Just a bit of contingency. It's a fixed price build contract, so you're pretty right. There's some accountant fees, legals to purchase, etc., etc. We've got our sale prices of our finished duplexes each there. And so we've got total project costs there. We've got interest while we're constructing of 30,000. So let me run it through for the people on podcast. We've got 340,000 for the land, 11,000 for stamps, 1,500 for purchase, 1,200 for accounting, 415,000 for build, 5,000 for contingency. Gives us $773,931 as our total costs on the project. And we thought maybe it's $30,000 in interest. So I'm pretty harsh on that. I sort of factor in some fat. So for this project here, a client would need anyone would need $169,000 at 20% down. Okay, that's based on that. That would then give us a sale price of $924,000. So a project net profitability is 12%, but your return on your cash. So you put in 169,000, you're getting back 88,000. Okay, so your return on your cash is 52%. Okay, so we'll call it 170K, and you're getting 88 back. Now, I'm not going to get into, we take away GST because obviously we do it as projects and that's what we do. If you're doing it in your own name, you talk to your accountant whether you need to worry about the GST component, etc., etc. So there's all that sort of stuff there. Now, let's compare it to the GR lender. Now, GR means gross realisation. So these guys will lend on the final values of the project. So as you can see, everything else is similar. So we've got 340,000 purchase price, 11,000 stamp duty, 1,500 legal fees, and 1,200 for accounting. Same sale prices, 459, 465 for each unit. The difference is there's a whole bunch of fees for your GR lender of 19,700, so that's a big hit. Same bill price, 415, same sort of contingency of 5,000. So our total project costs jump up. There's 793,000 this time. Our total sale price is the same because we keep everything the same to compare. But something kind of unique happens in this situation. We've got more interest for the GR lender because they're more expensive than your traditional banks. But we need less cash. Okay, so we only need 115,000, so 115 instead of 170. 170. So we need 170 on the other one and 115 on this one. And so because there's more fees in the GR lending model, we make less money. It only makes $58,000 instead of $88,000 because pretty much there's 30,000 in fees, but you need less cash to do it. However, the project profitability is less because it's making less. That makes sense. Your return on investment is like identical. It's 52% with a bank lender and 51% on a GR. Now, I wanted to show you this because this would be very, very different if it was a larger project. The closer you get to a 30% margin on a project, the less cash you're going to need with GR lending. And the reason is because they lend on the final value, then the more margin there is, the less cash you need. And I will show you that on another example when we're just talking about development. On these small projects where the margins are tight, it's debatable whether it's okay to go, whether it's worthwhile to go through GR lending or not. But you still need substantially less cash. Okay, so we need $55,000 less dollars to do this. The thing is, if you were going to do this yourself, I wouldn't necessarily recommend at all to use a GR lender. I'd recommend that we get the better rates with a normal lending, and you just need to tip a little bit more cash in, but you're going to earn $30,000 extra at your profit at the other end. So of course that's worthwhile. The return on investment is the same, but for the same time period, you're going to earn more money. However, if you're trying to do as many projects as you can, you're trying to spread your cash, this is a viable way of doing it. For example, if you had, say, $250,000, you could do 2 of these duplex projects, but you could definitely only do 1 with the bank lending. Okay? There's just no way you could stretch that for 2. So then you've got to ask yourself, well, hang on a tick. If these were identical, yes, I'm paying more fees. Yes, the project's less profitable, but my ROI is the same. So if I did 2, I could only do 1 of these. I'm going to earn 88. I could do 2. I'm going to earn 58. So I'm going to earn 116,000. That's better. Oh, okay. That all of a sudden starts, you know what I mean? Like, so you've got to look at your use of money. So we will always try and offer clients both ways if it's viable. And I just really wanted to go through that example with you today on the back of this Sunshine Coast report, because we're doing this on the sunny coast and it's going to sell and it's going to be a ripper. In fact, I think those sale prices are fairly good. I think 459 is pretty right, but standalone houses start from 550. And my rule normally is that we aim for a duplex to be 50% under a standalone house, 50%, 50 grand, 10% under a standalone house. So at 550, we'd be looking at something at 495, okay? And we've got in there at 459. I think we're going to be more like the 459s, but who knows where the market's going to go. Maybe it could be really a great winner. All right, mate, Jason, you got anything else to say on that?
No, look, that's a great project, Scott, as we've discussed in the past, and that's the reason why you're doing it and the reason why we find ones like that for our clients. I agree with you there. I think that sales price has got some potential to be a little bit north of there, especially with that report coming out on the Sunshine Coast as well. But fantastic project, and the key is it's a quick turnaround as well. 12 months in and out, done and dusted on to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you want to know anything about like that site, or you want to chase up that report that we've talked about today, you can email us hello@xenium.property. So that's no .coms, no .aus. It's just hello@xenium, XENIUM.property. And of course, you want to join our Xenium program, which includes all this sort of information, the ability for us to go find these things for you and make you lots and lots of money in the property market. You need to join up at xenium.property/join. So www.xenium, XENIUM.property/join. Right, I'd suggest you do that. All right, so pretty much that's it for me. We don't have any questions or anything today. It was very much specific about the Sunshine Coast. For those of you who know me, even though I live on the Sunshine Coast, they know that I haven't pushed it really pretty much ever. But with things like those data reports and other bits and pieces that happened since GFC, it is worthy a look if you're looking at a strong regional centre. Okay, if you're interested in capital cities, don't come to the Sunshine Coast. If you're looking at regional centres, it is 100% worthy a look. Right, that's it from me. Anything else from you, Jason?
No, that's it for me, Scotty. Until next time.
That's it. This has been our November 2019 Propertunities update, where we talk specifically about Sunshine Coast and Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au. Terry Ryder's report on the Sunshine Coast. It's worthy for you to have a look at that report. It's very in-depth, and I'd suggest you grab yourself a copy. If you don't have a copy, email us on those details below. All right, I'm Scotty from Xenium Real Wealth with Jason today, and that's it from us. Till next Thursday at lunchtime, be good.